The alien hall shimmered with light that seemed alive. It pulsed softly across the curved walls, flowing like water through channels of glass and metal. Every surface reflected color, silver, blue, violet, and every sound carried an echo that felt almost musical. Elias Trent stood near the edge of that vast chamber, trying not to stare too long at any single alien face. Around him, beings from 100 worlds spoke in dozens of languages, each voice layered through translator drones that floated like silver insects in the air. The hall was part of the Neridian Spire, a massive orbital station that hovered above the gas giant Neridia. The spire was meant to symbolize unity, a beacon of interstellar cooperation, but to Elias, standing there in his neatly pressed human envoy uniform, it felt more like standing inside a cathedral of glass and light, beautiful, but far too grand for him to belong in. Captain Marcus Wren stood a few steps behind him, a tall and solid presence in his dark military coat. His gaze swept across the hall with quiet suspicion, taking in every alien delegate, every guard, every unfamiliar shape. Wren was there to ensure nothing went wrong. Elias was there to make sure everything did not. He straightened his jacket and offered polite nods as a delegation of insectoid traders passed. Their translator emitted a faint buzz as they chirped their greetings. Elias answered with the words he had practiced all week, formal, respectful, and terribly awkward. The aliens nodded and glided away, leaving him in the soft hum of the hall's atmosphere filters. It was hard not to feel small. Humanity had joined the Galactic Trade Coalition only months ago, and most of the older civilizations viewed Earth as a young species barely out of its nursery. Elias could feel that weight in every glance that lingered too long, every forced smile that seemed to say you are new here, and we are watching. When the ceremonial greetings ended, Elias quietly excused himself from the crowd. The formal sessions would not resume for hours, and he needed air, or at least the spire's version of it. He followed a curved corridor until he found a quiet lounge overlooking the planet below. The lounge was nearly empty, filled with soft lights and the low hum of alien instruments playing through invisible speakers. He sat at the bar, grateful for a break. Behind the counter stood an insectoid bartender, its long, glassy eyes reflecting faint blue light. Elias gestured toward a row of glowing bottles, each more suspicious than the last. The bartender handed him a tall, translucent vessel filled with a luminous, thick liquid. "Lunari milk," the bartender said through a soft translator hum. "Traditional Cerulean beverage. Gentle on digestion. Pleasant taste for mammalian guests." "Milk," Elias repeated, forcing a confident smile. "Sounds familiar enough." The bartender clicked approvingly and returned to polishing another glass. Elias raised the drink to his lips and took a cautious sip. It was smooth, sweet, and faintly electric, like drinking cream mixed with lightning. He was not sure if he liked it, but at least it gave him something to do besides look nervous. Across the room, Captain Wren stood near the exit, arms crossed, his attention flicking between Elias and every alien who entered. Elias sighed softly. Wren never relaxed. He doubted the man even knew how. He tried to appear casual, stirring the glowing drink with his finger. The reflection of Neridia's swirling amber clouds stretched endlessly below the glass floor. For a moment, Elias allowed himself to imagine what Earth must look like to these people, tiny, distant, still trying to prove it deserved a place among the stars. That was when he felt a shift in the air behind him. The faint whisper of movement, graceful, deliberate. He turned and she was there, tall, elegant, and unmistakably alien. Her skin was a soft azure blue, alive with faint veins of silver light that pulsed with her heartbeat. Long silver hair fell past her shoulders, shimmering like liquid metal under the lounge lights. Her eyes were deep and calm, filled with a curiosity that seemed to see through him rather than at him. "Human envoy," she said, her voice melodic and calm. "May I join you?" Elias blinked, trying to recover from the surprise. "Of course," he said, motioning toward the seat beside him. She sat with quiet grace, her movements fluid and precise. "I am Ari'Ven Kael of the Cerulean Confederation." "You are Elias Trent of Sol, are you not?" He nodded, smiling with polite relief. "That is right." "You have a good memory." "Humans are easy to remember," she replied, her lips curving slightly. "There are not many of you here." "I have noticed," he said. "It makes the room feel a little larger than usual." Her gaze dropped to his glowing drink. You chose Lunari milk. A bold decision for a first-timer. Is that what this is? He asked. I was told it is. Soothing. Perhaps, she said, tilting her head. It contains bioluminescent proteins that hum when exposed to oxygen. That is why it flickers. The taste depends on one's body chemistry. Elias looked down at his drink. So I'm drinking something alive, she smiled softly. In a sense, yes. It is considered a comfort drink among my people. He raised his glass. Then I am honored. Ari'Ven studied him curiously. Do humans also produce milk? Elias laughed lightly. Yes, though only our females do. For our infants. Her brows lifted slightly. Only females? Then why are you drinking it? Elias blinked, unsure how to respond. This milk does not come from humans. It is just a beverage. She tilted her head again, thinking. I see. So your males also... Before she could finish, her hand reached toward his belt in innocent curiosity. Elias nearly dropped his glass, choking on air as he caught her wrist gently. Wait, that is definitely not how human biology works. Ari'Ven froze, her expression flashing from confusion to sudden realization. When she saw the deep shade of red on his face, a soft, musical laugh escaped her lips. It was light and pure, like a bell carried by wind. Elias, mortified and relieved at once, began to laugh too. Across the lounge, Captain Wren looked over, sighed, and looked away again. Some things, he decided, were better left uninvestigated. When their laughter faded, the air between Elias and Ari'Ven no longer felt formal. The stiffness of diplomatic introductions had melted into something warmer. You humans are easily embarrassed, she said with a teasing smile. And you Ceruleans, he replied, ask very dangerous questions. Curiosity is how understanding begins, she said softly. He nodded. Then here is to curiosity. They spent hours talking about their worlds, their languages, their strange similarities. Ari'Ven spoke of the Cerulean seas that glowed at night, and Elias told her of Earth's cities lit by glass towers and neon skies. She found human emotion fascinating, and he found her calm logic beautiful. By the time the lounge dimmed its lights, the silence between them felt comfortable. Ari'Ven rose gracefully. The demonstration aboard my vessel begins tomorrow. You will attend, yes? Yes, Elias said. Captain Wren and I will be there. She gave a small smile. Good. Perhaps next time I will ask my questions more carefully. Please do, he said, half laughing. I am not sure my dignity could handle another biology lesson. Her laughter followed her as she walked away, leaving Elias staring at the glowing surface of his drink. For the first time since arriving at the summit, he did not feel entirely alone. The next morning, the Neridian spire hummed with renewed life. The grand corridors filled with the chatter of delegates and the faint hiss of translation drones drifting through the air. Elias walked beside Captain Wren toward the docking bay, his mind still replaying fragments of last night's conversation. Ari'Ven's laughter lingered in his thoughts like a soft echo, strange, melodic, and comforting. He could not explain why it mattered, but it did. Wren noticed his faint smile and frowned. You seem cheerful this morning, sir. Elias tried to sound neutral. Just looking forward to the Cerulean demonstration. Wren's eyes narrowed slightly. You mean the same Ceruleans who nearly caused you a diplomatic incident over a glass of milk? Elias groaned quietly. I would prefer if that never became official record. Wren smirked faintly. Too late. The comms officers already think it is the funniest rumor on the spire. Elias gave him a sharp look, but the soldier's grin faded quickly as they approached the docking platform. Through the transparent barrier ahead, the Cerulean flagship waited in orbit, sleek, silver, and enormous. Its hull shimmered in streaks of blue light that pulsed in rhythm with the ship's energy core. The vessel's name glowed faintly along its side, Vyre's Promise. It was a beautiful ship, alive with energy, its hull flowing like liquid metal under the glare of the nearby sun. Elias adjusted his collar again. Every time he faced something new out here, he felt that same mix of pride and nervousness. Humanity had built ships that could cross the stars, but compared to this, they still looked like prototypes from a hopeful species trying to catch up. A Cerulean escort awaited them at the airlock, 3 figures in dark, patterned uniforms. Their skin shimmered faintly with blue light beneath their formal armor. One of them, taller and broader than the rest, stepped forward and bowed. Envoy Trent, Captain Wren. Welcome aboard the Vyre's Promise, he said. His tone was precise and formal. I am Lieutenant Nalin. Captain Ari'Ven Kael will join you shortly. Elias nodded in greeting. Thank you, Lieutenant. Your ship is extraordinary. Nalin's silver eyes flicked toward him, unreadable. It serves its purpose, he said curtly, then turned sharply toward the corridor. If you will follow me. Wren leaned closer as they walked. Friendly bunch, he murmured. Elias gave him a warning glance, but inside he agreed. The crew moved with practiced precision, but their expressions were distant. Something about their silence felt heavy, even for military formality. Ari'Ven appeared near the end of the corridor, her silver hair tied neatly behind her head. When she saw Elias, her face softened with an almost human warmth. Envoy Trent, I am glad you could attend. I would not miss it, he said. Your ship is remarkable, thank you. The Vyre's Promise is one of our fleet's most advanced vessels. Today's demonstration will show how our defense systems adapt in real time. It is designed to be both a show of cooperation and trust between our species. Wren nodded politely, but kept his arms crossed. Trust is a strong word, Captain. Let us hope the systems behave as expected. Ari'Ven smiled faintly. They always do, Captain Wren, unless someone wants them not to. Elias caught a subtle tone in her voice, something unspoken, but before he could ask, she gestured toward a large chamber ahead. This is our command center, she said. The room opened into a panoramic dome filled with glowing consoles and vertical light streams that moved like data waterfalls. At the center stood a control pillar, projecting holograms of ship schematics, energy flows, and planetary readings. The view outside showed Neridia's massive amber storm swirling below, their movement hypnotic and endless. As Ari'Ven began explaining the defense simulation, Elias noticed Nalin lingering near a console on the left side of the chamber. The lieutenant's hands hovered over the controls a moment too long, his expression tense. He glanced at Ari'Ven and quickly looked away when their eyes met. Wren saw it too. He leaned close and whispered, That one is nervous. Probably just cautious, Elias whispered back. But his voice lacked conviction. Ari'Ven's explanation continued smoothly, though Elias thought he saw a flicker of unease cross her face when she mentioned power rerouting. It was quick, but it was there, gone before anyone else could notice. When the demonstration ended, she invited them to tour the engineering decks. Nalin followed quietly behind, answering technical questions with curt precision. His tone held none of the calm confidence Elias had seen in Ari'Ven's crew the night before. By the time they reached the lower levels, Elias's unease had settled deep in his stomach. Something about the lieutenant's movements felt off, too deliberate, too careful. When the tour concluded, Ari'Ven stopped near a viewing platform overlooking the ship's energy core. That concludes our formal schedule for today. The summit reconvenes at the Spire tomorrow morning. You are welcome to remain aboard for refreshments. Elias nodded politely, and Wren gave a short, professional salute. But as they turned to leave, Ari'Ven's voice reached his communicator through a secure channel. Her message was only 6 words long, but it froze the air around him. Saboteurs aboard. Nalin planning system failure. He stopped walking mid-step. Wren noticed instantly. What is it? He asked under his breath. Elias kept his expression neutral as they continued toward the exit. Do not react. Ari'Ven just sent a message. There is a saboteur on board, her lieutenant. Wren's eyes sharpened. Confirmed? She says there is evidence in his quarters. Wren's hand brushed the small sidearm at his belt. Then we have a problem. Elias forced a calm smile for the nearby crew who watched them pass. We cannot confront him yet. If we make the wrong move here, it could start an incident between our species. Wren's jaw tightened. Then what is the plan? Elias exhaled slowly, glancing toward Ari'Ven across the hall. She stood by the control pillar, pretending to study a holographic display, but her eyes flicked toward him for only an instant, a silent signal of trust. We wait, Elias said. And when the demonstration starts, we stop whatever he has planned. Wren nodded grimly. Then let us hope your alien friend is right. Elias's gaze followed the slow pulse of blue light moving through the walls around them, spreading like veins through a living body. The ship felt alive, and suddenly, very fragile. The next hour would decide whether humanity's first alliance survived its first test, or went up in flames before it even began. The corridor lights dimmed slightly as the Vire's promise prepared for its joint defense demonstration. The air inside the ship seemed heavier now, charged with quiet tension. Crew members moved with practiced efficiency, but their conversations were short and clipped. Elias could feel it, an undercurrent of unease like a storm waiting for its first strike. He and Captain Wren walked side by side through the long passageways of the Cerulean vessel. Blue light pulsed faintly through the walls, synchronized with the rhythmic hum of the ship's core. Every sound, every vibration felt amplified. Wren spoke in a low voice. "We should pull out now. If her warning is real, this could be a setup." Elias shook his head. "If we leave, it will confirm their suspicions that humanity does not trust them. We need proof before we act." "Proof will not matter if the ship explodes," Wren muttered, scanning the corridor ahead. They reached a junction that opened into the crew quarters. Elias stopped beside a sealed door marked with the Cerulean script Ari'Ven had described. Lieutenant Nallen's quarters. A faint ripple of blue light traced across the surface lock, responding to motion. Elias lowered his voice. "She said the evidence is inside." Wren's hand hovered near his sidearm. "And how do you suggest we get it without starting a diplomatic war?" Elias hesitated, then tapped his communicator. "Ari'Ven, we are outside Nallen's quarters." Her voice came through softly, calm but urgent. "Stand by. I will override the seal remotely. You will have 90 seconds before the system logs unauthorized access." The lock hissed and slid open. Elias and Wren stepped inside quickly, the door sealing behind them with a faint click. The room was dim, illuminated only by the slow pulse of blue light from the walls. Cerulean quarters were minimalist, smooth surfaces, no clutter, no personal decorations. But something about this space felt wrong. Wren began scanning with a handheld detector while Elias moved toward the desk. A holographic display flickered faintly, showing schematics of the ship's power grid. He swiped through the images and his pulse quickened. Several of the nodes were marked with Cerulean warning symbols, interference points connected directly to the reactor's stabilizing array. Elias whispered, "These are not maintenance routes. They are sabotage points." Wren's jaw tightened. "He is setting the ship to fail during the demonstration." A faint sound came from the corridor, a soft metallic footstep. Wren turned sharply, weapon half drawn. Ari'Ven's voice came through the comm again. "You must leave now. Someone is approaching." Elias transmitted the data from the holographic console to his wrist communicator and shut it down. They stepped back into the hall just as two Cerulean guards turned the corner. For a split second, everyone froze. Then one of the guards spoke sharply in Cerulean, eyes narrowing. Wren gave a calm, diplomatic smile. "Just admiring your architecture. Very clean." The guards exchanged a look, clearly unconvinced. But before they could question further, Ari'Ven appeared from the opposite side of the corridor. "There you are," she said smoothly, her tone professional. "Envoy Trent, Captain Wren. Our next phase of demonstration is beginning. You are required in the observation chamber." The guards stiffened and immediately stood aside. Ari'Ven's gaze met Elias's for a brief second. No words passed between them, but he understood the message. We have no time left. The next few minutes blurred together. They re-entered the main command chamber, where the Cerulean officers prepared for the test. Holographic displays lit up, showing energy lines and reactor balances. Elias and Wren stood near the observation platform, pretending to be calm as the ship's power systems began to synchronize. "Demonstration commencing," a Cerulean technician announced. "All systems stable." Ari'Ven's eyes flicked toward Elias. He nodded slightly. The tension between them was a thread stretched to breaking. Then the lights flickered. Once, twice. The hum of the reactor deepened into a low growl. A sharp tremor ran through the floor. Warning lights flared crimson across the consoles. "Power fluctuation in the main core," the technician shouted. "Levels exceeding safe parameters." Elias turned toward Nallen. The lieutenant's hands were moving quickly over his console, too quickly. His face remained calm, but there was something cold in his eyes. Wren drew his sidearm. "Step away from the panel." Nallen's head snapped up. "You do not give orders on this ship, human." A violent surge of energy jolted the room. Gravity wavered for a moment as the entire vessel groaned under strain. Several crew members stumbled. Sparks rained from a ruptured conduit. Elias shouted over the alarms, "He is overloading the stabilizer links. Shut down the main feed." Ari'Ven's voice cut through the chaos. I can reroute power manually, but I will need your help. She sprinted toward the central control pillar, her hands moving across glowing glyphs faster than human eyes could follow. Elias joined her, his fingers flying over the holographic interface. She opened engineering schematics that were clearly classified, revealing sections of the ship that no outsider should see. Ren and two Cerulean guards tackled Nalan and his accomplices before they could reach the auxiliary control deck. The fight was quick, sharp, and brutal. In zero-gravity bursts, punches became slow-motion collisions. The Ceruleans were stronger, but Ren was faster, trained for this kind of chaos. Within moments, Nalan lay restrained against the floor, blue blood glimmering on his lip. But the reactor still roared. Ari'Ven's voice trembled slightly. Core temperature climbing. Containment breach in 60 seconds. Elias looked at the schematic. If we vent the secondary conduits, the shockwave will destabilize the outer hull. She met his eyes. Then we must stabilize manually. They worked side by side, their hands brushing occasionally over the glowing controls. Sweat ran down Elias's neck as alarms screamed in his ears. The reactor chamber appeared on the main display, a swirling sphere of blue fire threatening to consume itself. Ren's voice echoed over the comm. 30 seconds, Elias! Whatever you are doing, do it fast! Elias gritted his teeth. Almost there! Ari'Ven whispered something in Cerulean, a word that sounded like a prayer, and slammed her palm onto the console. The ship lurched violently, every light flashing at once. For a heartbeat, everything went white. Then silence. The alarms faded. The hum of the core softened to a steady rhythm once again. The lights returned to normal. Elias exhaled shakily. We did it. Ari'Ven leaned against the console, breathing heavily. Containment restored, system stable. Ren stepped forward, dragging Nalan by the arm. Your lieutenant just tried to destroy his own ship. I hope you have a good explanation. Ari'Ven's expression hardened as she looked down at the captured officer. He will face one. He and his co-conspirators acted without authority. They intended to sabotage this demonstration and blame humanity for the failure. Elias straightened slowly. So this was a setup. They wanted to make humans look reckless. Ari'Ven nodded. Yes. A faction within our ranks that fears cooperation. They call themselves the Purity Circle. I suspected them, but I did not know they had reached my crew. Ren's grip on Nalan tightened. They nearly killed us all. Ari'Ven met Elias's eyes. And you helped save us all. I will make certain the coalition knows who was truly responsible. Elias finally allowed himself a weary smile. Then maybe humanity still has a chance. She gave a small nod, her gaze softening. More than a chance, Envoy Trent. You have earned respect. As security forces arrived to take the saboteurs away, Elias looked out the viewport. The vast storms of Neridia swirled below, calm and golden once more. The Vire's promise drifted in the quiet of space, scarred but alive. For the first time, it truly felt like its name. The chaos had faded into a fragile calm. The alarms had gone silent. The ship, once trembling with the edge of destruction, now drifted in the soft amber light of Neridia's orbit. Crew members moved quietly through the bridge, repairing panels and rerouting systems, their faces pale from what had almost been their final moments. Elias stood near the viewport, staring at the storm-racked gas giant below. Vast golden clouds churned slowly, each movement reflecting on the glass like molten fire. His reflection looked older somehow, marked by exhaustion and disbelief. Captain Ren approached, arms folded. Engineering reports full containment, reactor stable, no secondary breaches. Elias exhaled. We were seconds away from being vaporized. Ren gave a small, tired grin. You did well, Envoy. You and our blue friend saved everyone. Ari'Ven entered then, her posture graceful but weary. The faint shimmer of her cerulean skin caught the light, and for once, her expression carried no diplomatic mask, only quiet relief. She stepped beside Elias at the viewport. The coalition has received my transmission, she said softly. The evidence you gathered and the confessions of the saboteurs, it will be enough. Humanity will not be blamed. Elias nodded slowly. And you? You risked everything by helping us. She gave a small, wry smile. Perhaps, but I would rather lose a title than my conscience. Ren looked between them, smirked faintly, and decided to take the hint. I'll check on the Cerulean guards, he said, turning toward the exit. Try not to cause another interstellar incident while I'm gone. When the door closed, silence filled the chamber again. The swirling amber light bathed them both in a warm glow. Ari'Ven watched the storms below. You humans are strange creatures. You face death with sarcasm. You mistrust, yet you hope. It is a paradox I cannot quite explain. Elias chuckled quietly. We do not always make sense, but we try. She turned her head slightly toward him, eyes shimmering with faint amusement. You risked your life for people who barely respect you, for a mission that could have ended your species' reputation forever. Why? He thought for a long moment before answering. Because trust has to start somewhere. Someone has to take the first step, even if it feels like walking off a cliff. Ari'Ven studied him carefully, as if memorizing every line of his face. Perhaps your kind will do well among the stars after all. The silence stretched again, comfortable this time. Outside, the gas giant rotated slowly beneath them, vast and endless. The light reflected softly on her skin, and for a brief moment, Elias forgot about politics, coalitions, or history. There was only the quiet hum of the ship and the alien standing beside him. Then Ari'Ven tilted her head, that same curious spark flickering in her eyes again. You know, she said lightly, I have been reviewing your species' biological data. I still find one detail quite astonishing. Elias groaned immediately. Please do not. She grinned, clearly enjoying herself. You are telling me that human males can produce milk? He covered his face with his hands. We are never talking about that again. Ari'Ven laughed, a soft, musical sound that seemed to fill the entire observation deck. Very well, Envoy Trent, but you must admit, it is a fascinating trait. He shook his head, defeated but smiling. I am starting to think the galaxy will never let me live that down. She looked back at the swirling clouds of Neridia. Perhaps that is the price of discovery. He followed her gaze, the light flickering across their reflections. And perhaps, he said softly, it is worth every second. The two stood side by side in silence, the great storms below rolling endlessly on, vast, eternal, and beautiful. Somewhere deep in space, the coalition prepared to meet again. New treaties would be written, old prejudices tested. But now, in the quiet glow of a saved ship, a human and an alien shared something that neither government could legislate: understanding. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something more.